Welcome to another episode of Back to the City. Today I'm joined by TWAIN. Welcome, TWAIN.
Hey, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. You're very prolific. First of all, I want to congratulate you on being a Hollywood Independent Music Award nominee for 2023.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. We're going to be devoting most of our attention in this interview to your two most recent releases. So that's the single New and You, and then also Midwest Mayors, the EP, the most recent EP.
Well, I call it a project.
A project, okay.
It's a project, but I guess some would consider it EP by definition.
Yeah.
I guess
Special music project.
Special music project.
Yeah, that's how it's referred to.
That's how
that fits. In what sense is that particular release a project?
Well, in the hip hop space, things have evolved to where things are not always traditionally albums like they used to be, or long plays, LPs. So it's really important what something is and what the expectations are for the listeners.
Yes.
In the hip hop space, at least. So, but we see that even in other genres these days. So, in our culture, we have a lot of underground mixtapes, especially in the last couple decades. That's still a thing a little bit, but it's evolved out of that. But it was very clear you would want to make the distinction between what was a mixtape and what was an album. A mixtape may promote your album, or you may want to be like an appetizer for an album. EPs weren't really a thing. That kind of came in the last decade or so. We're just trying to truncate things and really cater to the attention spans of the listeners. So we started making shorter things. Songs became shorter. Projects became shorter. So we started being real intentional about what words we'll use in hip hop for our bodies of work. So we might say, okay, this is an album. You can expect this. This is an EP, 4, 5, 6 songs. Some people were still doing mixtapes. Then it started getting all kind of convoluted. So we just say everything's a project, and then we'll make the distinction from there. Now for Midwest Mayor, I had just came off of making a full-length album. A modern one though, 9 tracks, not too long of a listen. And it definitely wasn't going to be that, and I didn't want to confuse people. I kind of took some of the elements with how we did mixtapes back in the day with the promotion and how I made it available to the public. But it really was just a piece of art for me and my collaborator, Luco, the producer.
Okay, yeah.
He said, hey, let's do this. I know that's your nickname. Let's call it that. Let me produce every track. And I said, oh, well, when I finish this album I'm working on, which was Central Standard Time at that time.
Which came out the previous year.
Yeah, the previous year. I said, when I finish that, let's do it. So me and him got together, and it just was a beautiful piece of work. And it was important to make that stand out on its own. So I called it a special music project. And just so it would flow better. Midwest Mayor, a project by TWAIN. It's like, in 2021, how do I do that? Because I have been going by that nickname since I started rapping and making music. So it just flowed better, because it's always about how do you present it and your promo and how you advertise. And I'm always trying to just get better and better at that. So, and hey, if I call it a special music project, it might raise some eyebrows. It might pique people's interest a little more. And we delivered on the music side when they press play.
Yeah. And it is a very coherent record, and the opening track, We Made It Through, leads with seizing that opportunity to convey what it is to be the Midwest Mayor.
For sure.
Let me constitute what a Midwest Mayor is before they convolute.
Yeah.
And then you clarify.
Yes.
So it's interesting hearing now that was Luco's, your collaborator and producer's, Luco's idea, taking this alias and having that be the title of the project. The timing of releasing a project where you present yourself as Midwest Mayor in 2021, could you reflect a little bit on how you responded to Luco's idea? Okay, let's have that be the record, given the uprising and the other events that then are referenced in that opening track.
For sure, that's an amazing question. Let me give a more background, on who Luco is. He's my music partner. He lives in southwestern Pennsylvania, southwest PA. Me and him have been collaborating since I got started way back in 2002. We met online before that was even a thing back then, And you know, we just kind of went from there. We made music together. We made our own mixtapes. We released music online to stream, even before that was a thing. So I was an early adopter on a lot of what's going on now.
Yes.
Ahead of my time in that way, ahead of our time in that way. Yeah,
working
for sure.
2 decades.
Technology had to catch up to me.
Yes.
So that's why
Good job,
I would
technology.
like to think that's why I do so well now and thrive. Like, you know, people do ask me. So, you know, other musicians ask me, and really just everything. The times had to catch up to what I was already doing. So that's my background with my guy Luco. So yeah, he knows me. He knows my story. I guess he always liked that alias, and he said, let's do this. And that particular opening track, we made it through on there. That was his idea too. Coming out of the uprising, he saw what was going on. We were in communication. He said, hey, it's very important. If you're gonna do that, he said, you should touch on what's going on there in Minneapolis. That should kind of just open the track up, open the project up. And I was like, okay. I had on my previous album, Central Standard Time, we did a song called Changes.
Yeah.
Also
which was nominated, for
considered for a Grammy. I want to make the
okay.
Which right now, that's so funny because right now people are starting their For Your Consideration FYC campaigns for this year's Grammys coming up. Well, next year's Grammys. Last year, Changes was considered for the 2023 Grammys.
For
best song of social change. Yeah, and that was more of a, when I made that song, I'm gonna make that quick. I'm gonna talk about it quick. I made that song. I was just trying to make something kind of wide-ranging, touch on a few things. This is before this even happened with the uprising. I was trying to speak to those sorts of atrocities, you know, anti-Black racism, and just some more spiritual stuff that we humans go through. Just trying to make like one song that's kind of a catch-all. Turns out, right after that, pandemic, which fit the song, and then right after that, during George Floyd, fits the song. So when Luco brought me the idea for We Made It Through, I said, well, I kind of already had that whole thing. We made an amazing music video, a beautiful music video, which MCN6 supported, I believe, so thank you, thank you. I'm like, how do I do this differently since I've already been there creatively? And we talked, and he's like, well, you know, I said, you know, we'll just take this more of a street perspective. Because I have friends, musician friends in the streets here in the city that had to like protect the neighborhoods.
Yes.
Like, you know, we had people that practice anti-Black racism coming that were not Minnesota residents. People taking the license plates off their cars.
Yes.
Going around doing things and then leaving, you know. So I was like, I really want to paint that picture lyrically for listeners of what it's like, at least from my point of view, to let them know what the energy is, what the feel is, what some of the thought process is, and kind of what's happening. I only had 16 bars to do it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have my style. So I took that approach, and he said, yeah, that's great. That's kind of what he was coaching me to do.
Yeah.
It's a 2-verse song, and I just said, you know, since I'm setting the tone for this project, let me take the second verse, just explain what the Midwest Mayor is, what the concept is, what the name is. It's being a boss, it's being resourceful, it's being a leader, it's being a Don, you know what I mean? So I kind of took both of those approaches.
Expected to be a voice is something that Chantel sings, is highlighting, because there are these kind of news announcements, which are juxtaposed with your bars. Yeah. I kind of set the scene. Yes, you have had this alias, and now it's like you're being called to step into that and to be all that this time needs Midwest Mayor to be. You managed to do a lot in so few bars in that song, as you were just highlighting, and I love that the references, for example, to the 10,000 Fearless Men. Referencing Minister Farrakhan there. When I was watching the footage of Minister Farrakhan talking about the need for 10,000 fearless men and women, there was an emphasis on the need for training, because we have to train you brothers because you're filled with self-hatred, and there's a focus on training so that the heart is full of love, so you can go into community and do the conflict resolution.
Absolutely, I love that.
And I think that really resonates with themes and your intention, your focus throughout the project, and perhaps throughout all of your music. Could you reflect a little bit on training oneself to be free from things that would impede being able to resolve conflicts, meet the times, and act from a place of love in community? That resonates so much with your music and your message. What thoughts do you have on that?
Let me start with shout out to Chantel Sings, because on that record she does do the we got news clippings in between the verses. I was gonna originally use real audio of Mayor Frey, but then I thought that would be kind of time consuming trying to find all the stuff, because it was out there, but it just was gonna be some work. So I just said, why don't I just put it in my own words and ask my sister to come do her news thing, and she did. So I love that you brought up Minister Farrakhan, the Honorable Minister. The concept of 10,000 Fearless that I saw him introduce a few times was just the conflict resolution in the community where we won't have to worry about law enforcement coming in, because when black people, when we call the police, it's always a roll of the dice. You know, they might come resolve, they might come assist, they might truly serve and protect, or it could spin out of control and become something else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we've had a problem in Minnesota where black men interact with them, they leave, that person's dead now, that black person's dead now. Those unarmed Minnesota residents are dead. So I love the idea of, if we protect our own and patrol our own communities, is love there. We know we don't have to worry about it being fatal. I don't know. If someone got in an argument with their boyfriend, or somebody got in an argument with their girlfriend, or I don't know, a kid stole another kid's bike, or anything, you know, anything that goes on. These are normal things that happen in all communities, where you can rest assured if you call for some resolution, you'll get it, and it's safe. So to get back to your original question, the self-love piece is extremely important. If I love me, when I call you my brother, you truly are my brother, and I'm able to love on you because I love me. Whereas if I have some self-hate stuff going on, or I'm incomplete about some things, I may project that, or if I can't get out from past my own nose, or don't like what I see in the mirror, it's gonna be hard for me to transfer that to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that might manifest negatively. So, you know, and Farrakhan also just talking about like going back to the basics, like just take care of yourself, take care of your people around you, take care of your community, be the best you could be upright, be law abiding, do what you need to do to take care of yourself and your family and the human family. So, yeah, man, I love that you call out and you're seeing those motifs in my music, because my message is clearly like, it's just my journey of self-improvement. That's all my art is.
Yep.
I always liken it to, if you were like a Godfather fan, if you watch Michael Corleone and his evolution.
Yes.
If you're a Star Wars fan, if you watch Anakin Skywalker and his evolution, that's all my music ever has been. Even with this whole Midwest Mayor project we're talking about, that was more like some young, braggadocious, cocky, you know, hip hop rap stuff.
Right, that's how it begins.
That's how it began, and just, you know, showing my skill, which is the essence of hip hop. You know, it's all about, I'm the best rapper, and I'm going to prove to you that I'm better than you. The next rapper that steps up, come on, let's battle. I'll show you. We peacocks. You know, that's what we do. So in 2021, when Luco presented this to me, I'm like, well, I'm somewhere else artistically. I'm not gonna approach it that way. I don't really approach my work that way anymore. So it's like, how can I bring this all together?
Yeah.
And that's how I could say, okay, this is still that energy, but this is what it looks like now.
Totally.
Almost 20 years later, it's more like leadership.
Totally.
It's more this journey of personhood and manhood, and still that social observation and where I sit inside of that, and the people that count on me and are looking had me not letting them down, but being very honest and candid about where I am and my imperfection in that journey.
Yes, another song where that comes through is Gangsta de Papier.
Yeah, Gangsta de Papier, it's French.
Which of course is engaging with and responding to the Paper Gangster Lady Gaga song.
Yeah, same name, I just made it French.
Yeah.
That's a sample. That's a sample, yeah.
But there, in the sample, which is in the chorus, we have the original Gaga, don't want no paper gangster, I don't want to sign away my life to someone who's got the flavor, but don't have no follow through. Yeah. That I was thinking about that. So the braggadocio, I'm the best. I can defeat the other rappers.
Yeah.
That person might have flavor, but you have flavor and follow through.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to me how you take the Gaga chorus, and then throughout that song of yours, it's almost like you're catching yourself you're looking back at yourself, evolving, as you were saying before, kind of beyond being a paper gangster, but swimming in the sea, the cultural sea, where there is so much focus on what's next on my docket's the opening lyric. We're caught up in this race. We do need the money.
Yes. Yes.
And you've
got it.
I've witnessed you highlighting before, like you have your family, you have your kids, multiple income streams. I can relate. So many people can relate to this. We need to fend for the family, and you're self-aware enough to be like, yes, that's good, and that's me. But also, we need to be able to step back and not lose ourselves in this effort. So it's very clever, I think. You're kind of like, yes, there's a bit of me that's like the paper gangster, but I see that, and I'm growing and evolving, and you can too. It's not like the paper gangster's bad, whereas in the original Gaga song, it's just like, I don't want this.
Right.
So what thoughts do you have on... these are two of my favorite songs of yours.
Thank you.
And I think that both of them relate to this catching yourself in the act of evolving and encouraging yourself to evolve and sharing lessons perhaps through doing that.
Yes.
This is how one evolves.
Yes.
What thoughts do you have on leadership and maturity and what it really is to be Midwest Mayor for you now? Through the lens of these two songs?
Well, man, yeah. I have a complicated relationship with money and economics and capitalism.
In this culture,
that's what Gangsta de Papier was about.
Yep.
And I always loved the Paper Gangsta song. I used to be a huge Lady Gaga fan. I still like her. I always love that song. Yeah, it's a lot to unpack. So
we can even throw Donald Goines into Black Gangster, because that's another thing that's woven in.
Yeah. The book Black Gangster by Donald Goines, famous author, street cinema. Quite honestly, like I said, I have a complicated relationship with money. I use that song to display that.
Yeah.
I personally believe, at least in modern times, that might be my most perfectly written song. I'm super proud of those lyrics. It's like flawless. Oh man, I just blew myself away with that one. I am my own biggest fan. I say that unapologetically. I have to be.
That's like an evolved form of the kind of braggadocio from before.
Yeah.
But it seems more grounded.
It is. That's how I'm here with you today.
Yeah.
I noticed when I got more grounded, I get invited to do cool stuff like this.
Yeah.
when I was younger and just more on 10, I was kind of just like yelling in the hallway about how great I was. So I had to like rein that in and really just focus on the work. But
you're more comfortable and at one with the actual value that you offers.
Yeah, it's really just about the work and the art. And to get back to your question, because that's the art, man. It's hey, let's show those imperfections. And it's a very vulnerable song. All of this work is just showing, hey, I know I have responsibility. I know, I was born into this capitalistic system. I have to live and thrive and take care of what I need to take care of, myself, my children, whatever else, my people. I don't have to like it. I don't always like it. It is a blessing. I'm letting the people know, hey, this is exactly where I'm at it. You know, I heard recently Mike Tyson said it, that being able to manage money is an art. Like, that's not for everybody. It's so true. That's so beautifully said. Like, that's an art. So I just let people know, hey, this is exactly where I'm at with it. Do not get caught up in what I have or may not have. I'm not caught up in what I have or may not have, not anymore, you know. So I just really try to take like a spiritual approach to it.
Yeah. And
just be very real about my highs and lows with finance.
Yeah.
Getting back to the whole Midwest Mayor thing again, I don't know, we don't we're called to be leaders. A lot of people don't want to be leaders, and I get that whole, hey, don't put that on me. You know, it's like people, they're gonna do it though, especially if you're putting yourself out there. You know, I consider myself a leader. Leader just looks the way it looks. It doesn't look traditional sometimes, but you know, in my real life, people come to me from time to time. I have 2 sons, 2 boys that I have to lead, and I know people are watching me. You know, I've learned that life is a lot of you don't know who's watching.
Yes.
And they might, at some point, they may emerge from the shadow. I've said this in interviews before. They may step out and pull your coattail, like, hey, you know. So you never know, and it may be someone you respect and look up to. So I try to carry myself as such, and I try to wear my imperfection on my sleeve too.
Particularly in
Yes,
this song that we're talking about
absolutely.
is the main case in point.
Yeah, my art is for me to show exactly where I am. Getting back to that Michael Corleone and Anakin Skywalker thing. This is exactly where I am. Some of my peers and friends in music, they found other ways to write, and you know, they'll do third person or they'll step outside their body, and that's cool. I've dabbled in that a little bit, but I really like the first person narrative for my writing. So yeah.
But that comes through a little bit at the very end of this song. You've said, I saw you sharing in the past, so a note to self, don't forget what counts by spreading, what is it, spreading?
A note to self, don't forget what counts by spending life selling out over any amount. Again, I'm smiling because this is my most perfectly written song, I think. Let me say that again. Note to self, don't forget what counts by spending life selling out over any amount. That's the wordplay. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was an outer body experience, right?
Yeah,
those
you said that
lines.
before.
Yeah, it was an outer body experience
by that point.
Yeah, it was an outer body experience right now. Like, I just did it. I didn't even realize how cool that was. But yeah, it's like that's the cool wordplay hip hop stuff that I love. I'm a lyricist, so I love that kind of
So
stuff.
that's there alongside this focus on self, and it's not like obviously it's not just self pleasing. The focus on self is to serve evolution.
Yeah.
So but then there are these, you said before and you just said now, it's like a kind of out-of-body experience when that feels almost like it's gifted to you, like that wordplay.
Yeah.
It's interesting that exists alongside the presence of you. You don't lose sight of who you are, and you don't get caught up in just purely celebrating where you are. Like you observe where you are almost like a character.
Yeah.
In the interest of the evolution of that character. Very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I talked a few lines before that about just like, let's mine for what's real in life, which would be family, knowledge. You know, my
supreme
friends,
mathematics, you refer to. What is supreme mathematics?
Supreme mathematics is an offshoot of Islam. The 5%ers, 5% nation of gods on earth, they believe in supreme alphabet, supreme mathematics. You've seen this before. You've seen a lot of the Wu-Tang Clan. You've seen RZA, Jizza, the singer SZA. Those names are supreme alphabet. There's also the supreme mathematics, which is that's today's date. So today is October 20th. So 20 will represent that will represent 2 entries on the supreme mathematics. So I don't have them memorized. I have a reference, but I think today's math is, if today's the 20th, it might be, I think 1 is knowledge. I forget what 2 is, or 2 may be knowledge. I know for a fact 0 is cipher born, which is 0, which represents completion.
Interesting.
So I know the second part of today's math would be completion, cipher. So what I'm talking about on there is like knowledge, because I know that's part of supreme mathematics.
And
that might be number 1. So the 19th, like yesterday, the math yesterday probably was knowledge and whatever 9 was. So I just was saying on that song, like knowledge is what's important. Family is important. That's the real wealth. Knowledge is the real wealth, not money. I consider myself an intellectual. I'm always seeking knowledge. I'm always open to learn. I'm not interested in being a know-it-all, even though, you know, know-it-all, the concept is fun. Being well-read, being well-versed.
Having the right, ensuring that your mind is right. That's
mind
the
is
focus
right.
in the
Absolutely.
song.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's about. That's how I overcome and beat my shortcomings with finance and managing money, and I had dreams of being rich, still do, but it looks different now.
But the true wealth is knowing that one's mind is right, and when one's mind is right. And you also, in a previous interview I was watching, it was like the lyric breakdown. You were saying right up here and right here. It's like the mind and the heart.
Mind and the heart, and the spirit and the soul. That's what it's all about.
There is a strong spiritual dimension to your music, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going for that. So that means that's cutting through. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very humble.
Oh, the comedian Corey Holcomb. There's the sample from Corey Holcomb regarding provider anxiety.
Yeah.
And so that's important to talk about too, because I feel that as you're talking about your past self and how you would previously, want to have money, and that's less of the central goal now that you realize that a truer wealth is having the mind right, and it's not an either or really either, is it? If your mind is right, then you're probably, this craft of managing money is maybe something that you're better at.
I'm wealthy right now. I'm doing what I love. People love me. I'm on my journey. I got personal dragons and demons to slay, and sometimes I do well with them, and sometimes it's still in progress. So I'm wealthy now.
If we see someone else who's more like caught up in trying to make money, we feel compassion for them. We feel compassion for the part of us that's caught up in that too.
Yes.
And this reference to provider anxiety like really grounds that compassion. So could you talk a little bit about including that sample from that comedian in the song and the idea of provider anxiety? Yeah,
shout out to Corey Holcomb. Yeah, that was amazing when he said that. I had to include that clip in the song because I've never heard of that, and it's a beautiful way to explain it. Just the anxiety we have having to provide it. What he says is, you just knowing that you gotta find a way. You gotta find a way to get it done, and like that's not fun. That's not fun. It's a lot of despair with that, and in those low moments. Desperation, and quite honestly, to be frank with you, I'm trying to lean on something spiritual, where it's like, I know I'm gonna be all right. I'm always all right. I have more than enough. It's gonna come to me, it's gonna flow to me. I'll have more than even what I need or what I request, which I could be charitable with the difference. I can take the surplus.
An abundance.
And there we go, that's the word I'm looking for, abundance. So I don't know if we could curse. I'll just say you can? Okay, so like they had a concept of like fuck you money. Like if you got fuck you money, you don't have to be in no situation that you don't want to be in, because you just go home, you got money, and not everybody has fuck you money, but spiritually is the real fuck you money, is my belief. Like I know I'm gonna be good. I don't even worry about that. I don't succumb to provider's anxiety. I don't succump to fear. It's like just living fearless.
Well, recognizing that it is a thing that it would make sense for one to feel is a large part of that awareness. That self-awareness and awareness of swimming of the culture, the sea in which we swim.
Because you know what it'll do to you, Simon? It'll have you, oh man, that'll be a gateway to depression. You won't live, you won't be your best self, you become a shell of yourself.
And saying yes to things you don't want to say yes to.
And just doing things you don't want to do. And I mean, when you start, I'm committed to not judging people And what I will say is when you do things only for money, that's gonna take you on a path you don't wanna be on. That's really what the Gangsta the Papier song is about. You know, you naming all my inspirations. I remember one of my favorite movies, Wall Street. He just simply tell him in Wall Street, when you do things for money, we say you do things you don't wanna do. It's like really that simple. Like I refuse to live that way. It's not that serious. And that's the mature, evolved me speaking.
Yes.
And me talking about it so candidly is the leadership that we're discussing.
Totally.